This episode discusses suicide attempts and the ongoing impact of chronic pain. Listener discretion is definitely advised. Welcome back to Leading Our Own Way this week. We've got Dean Daniel here once again. His journey, as you know, takes another turn from the edge, literally, where he hurled himself backwards from his own rooftop just 1 year ago. Believing there was, he believed there was no way out, right? But here in part 2, we pick up on the aftermath, the slow, painful process of healing, the footage that forced him to confront his reality, and the spark that ignited his purpose. Dean opens up about the relentless struggles with pain, the moments of despair, and the fight to reclaim his life. He reveals how, in just 9 months, sharing his story, creating this beautiful movement and brand, Unbeaten, and speaking publicly became lifelines. Not just for him, but for countless others too. This is a story of hope emerging from the deepest shadows, and a testament to the strength found in asking for help. Here's Dean for part 2, and myself. Just taking a very quick break to thank our sponsor, SU Skincare. If you haven't heard of them, SU Skincare started right here in Australia, using Australian ingredients to make skincare straightforward and accessible, especially for men who want results without the fuss. Their journey took them all the way to the US, where they were featured in Macy's and over 300 stores. Now they're back with a fresh approach, focusing on healthy skin and authenticity for everyone. I'm proud to have SU Skincare as a sponsor on Leading Our Own Way. See the show notes for their website and to see how you can keep your skin healthy and confident. And if you're interested in sponsoring like SU Skincare, drop us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Now, right back to the episode. Yeah. Do you think it was that car crash that was the initial start for maybe, I don't know, your body being weaker and more, weaker in terms of the bones of what's gone wrong in your body? Or was it down the track from the things that it led on to?
No, well, they've said that they've come back, so it was years after.
Right.
Since then, I've obviously built myself back up from a sporting side, from a strength side, like in terms of running, yes.
Yes.
But after that, it was 12, 13 years after since this all started to then, unfold when I had my injury in the gym and whatnot. So I was back. I was the strongest I've ever been. I was, the fittest I've ever been. So that side was just that chapter closed, and it was like that. Although that chapter was now finished, and it broke my heart, so be it. But it was this new chapter from that point there to the point where I was up until my first surgery it was a different chapter, and everything was great. I mean, I was back up to 18 and a half, nearly 19 stone of muscle. I was training really well. Everything was going well. I was, everything was how I would say right, and how I wanted my, the life to go, my family. Everything was going well, businesses and stuff like that. I was working. And then obviously until that dreaded day where it all happened. And then since then, it's just been a nightmare.
Well, in my notes, I called it, I don't know if it was your words or my words to help separate the section, but I called it the decline. Maybe it was from you, the start of the journey from you. You after running, you became a personal trainer, and you was obviously working a lot with clients at night, things like that. I've got many friends who work in that industry, and it gets a lot, doesn't it? But where was the decline for you then? Let's go from the decline, the beginning of this part of your life in the most recent of years. You just mentioned there an accident happened at the gym. What happened there then?
So that was definitely the changing point, and as we say, the decline. So
yeah.
One evening, and stupidly, I look back now and think it's so silly, because I used to tell my clients, make sure you eat, make sure you drink, make sure you sleep, and you're prepared, ready to go. Like, don't come into the gym and you've not had any sleep and you've not eaten, because the risk of injury, there's risk, of all sorts happening within, your training session. So I remember broke all them rules. And one evening, I was just tired. There was a lot going on. I had not eaten, and I'd not slept the night before particularly well. And I'd gone into the gym, and I was lifting, and stupidly lifted the weights up, unprepared, didn't have anything, just wasn't in it, wasn't there. I shouldn't have gone, but I did, as you do. especially when you're into your training and stuff, you don't want to miss it. And I went in and then felt a large, sharp pain in my lower spine. I thought, what
Oh,
was that? And then carried on the session for the next 1 or 2 reps. And then I thought, wow, dropped the weight and thought, God, this is getting increasingly worse. So the pain was getting higher and higher. Tried to lift them up again, do it again. I thought, wow, that's enough. It literally felt like someone had just ripped my lower back out and all down my leg. Anyway, cut long story short, ended up going into hospital, and they said you need to have surgery. You need what I think they said there was an issue with the lower discs, and they were going to go in. And then that was the first surgery. So that was in the December, and I had the surgery in the January, in 2018. And since then, it's just like you say there, it's declined and declined.
yeah.
I've had 9 spinal surgeries since, like as we spoke earlier. Medications have just been ramped up. Spinal injections, blocks, you name it. Physios. I've had a spinal stimulator, which is basically like a computer built into your body, which shuts all your nerve pain off. And it's been a journey. And then it just kept as it progressed, it just got worse and worse.
So on a day-to-day basis, outside of the hospital visits and outside of these little, we talk about these things, don't we, as a significant events, but what's Dean's body's like every day, going to work, getting up? Are you sore during I mean, that's a silly question, but you know what I mean? Like, is Dean functioning normal, but just got aches and pains, but you still need to get surgeries done? How's that looking for you every day in between all of that?
Not so I can't work. So this is me now. Everything
Yeah.
I put into my life is unbeaten, and it's
But from
doing
the
what I.
first surgery, though?
But from the first one, it was
Yeah.
sorry, yes. So from the first one, it was a case of I was told that you got your recovery period
Yeah.
as everyone does.
Mm.
So then I was off work at the time, and then it was right, try and build yourself up, and you got your physio, you got your rehab, and whatever else. But then, as you can imagine, within the space of 6 years, I'd had 7 surgeries. So every
Mm.
time I managed to start to get out of that recovery period, as they call it, something else would happen. And
Yeah.
I needed to go back in. So, I mean, at one point, I was literally in and out of hospital every 6 weeks because I was just falling. I was collapsing. I was getting this left side weakness.
Yeah.
And I would just be like, I'll bring that back up in a minute in Tesco car park, which is where I was telling you about the funny story. But I could just be walking around and, should I say, stumbling around, because at the moment, especially now, I don't walk really, very good anyway. But I would literally get to a point where I could just collapse and just drop down with pain because the sensation in this left hand side was just different. And I would be going up the stairs or coming down the stairs, and I'd put the foot down, and it would feel like someone's cut me off by the knee, and I'd just go tumbling. So I was on first name terms with the paramedics, bless them, at some point, because they were like, even
Shouldn't
in
have.
even in the hospitals, I know they were coming in, they were like, "Are you back, Dean?" And it was like I can look back and I can laugh now, but at the time when you lay there in a hospital bed and you're thinking, like,
Fucking
even
know
the
their
cleaners
names.
know me.
Oh my God.
Um, but it's just literally been like mayhem and hell,
Yeah.
really, for the last 7, 8 years.
So in the
So
first few though, is like you said, you have to go in between every 6 weeks. Was Dean doing Dean things in between those events?
not really.
No,
No, I mean trying,
trying.
but
Yeah.
just not living the life that I wanted to live and should be living. Because it was just too high, too much pain, and again, the medication had already started quite early on.
Yeah.
So if you take a couple of the medications that I take, you probably wouldn't get out of bed. But at one point, when I was on all of that medications, I remember getting rushed into hospital on one of them, and because I was hallucinating, and I didn't tell anyone, but I hadn't been to the toilet or anything for about 16 hours,
Oh.
and unbeknown to me, that I was retaining a lot of water. And I was hallucinating, and I can laugh about it now, but they took me into hospital, and I remember sitting in a room and waiting in the waiting room as you do, And the wife had gone out, and she's told me this story. I can't remember this next bit, but she said that she went out and spoke to a nurse. The nurse had come in and seen me and said, "No, he's okay. I think he's all right. I've just had a chat with him, so and so." And she said, "He's okay." She said, "I've just been speaking to him there. He's playing on PlayStation in there. He thinks he's playing on his football game, FIFA or something. He said he's been playing for the last half an hour." And the lady went, "He's what?" And like, she walked back in the room and they said, "Right, we'll just do a bladder scan." When they checked me, I had over 2 litres of water, of the urine stuck in me. So they had to obviously, catheter me and drain it all out and whatnot. But it's become so dangerous. And because of such high levels of pain meds, when they checked all the pain medications and stuff, they were like, "It can do that." There's so many side effects that, you might not be able to go to the toilet. You might not feel like you need to go to the toilet. There's loads of like side effects to certain medications. I've been in there where I've literally not been able to go to the toilet. I've been compacted. I've had collapsed lungs through laying in hospital beds all the time. So it was literally like, it's just been hell. So it's been like, what it just seems to be like one thing after another, just rolling, all because of what's going on.
Yeah. So with somebody who's had so many surgeries, then is the surgery after the previous one to continue the journey of fixing you, or is it to fix the surgery that you previously had? Because are they all successful? Are they all like, where does the journey go with them? If that makes sense, does it fix the previous one? Is it right? Surgery's done, but you need another surgery to get to the point we're going to get to. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So my last surgery that I'd had done, I was informed that it was a really complex surgery. Now I've got to be really careful what I say here because it's actually in the illegal arena. So there's certain things I can and certain things I can't discuss as yet.
Yeah.
And that will be revealed, I'm sure, at some
We'll do
stage.
another podcast.
Yeah. But there's been all I can say is a lot of failings and a lot of negligence. That's all
Right.
I can, say. But the last surgery that I'd had was to try, and it wasn't promised to try and help my life moving forward in terms of it won't be able to heal the damage that's already been done, but it'll prevent any further damage occurring. So I was told at one point that if I didn't have this last surgery, then your lower side from your hips downwards would be drastically affected. I.e., you might be end up in a wheelchair and bladder issues and whatever else. Now, obviously, the last surgery they've said, well, it was pretty brutal what's happened, what's gone on, and moving forward, we can hope that that it'll prevent any further damage, occurring. That's all I
Yeah.
can say. I'm trying to word it right.
Sure.
But in terms of the damage that's already been done, then I've been told it's shocking. But anyway, that's for another day. So now it's like, is this the pain that I'm going to be living in? Is this me now? Because this has been a year, 13 months now, since my last surgery. So I'm like, usually it's a year, maybe 18 months, if you're lucky, that your full recoveries, your classed as, it's cleared and fully recovered. So now I'm looking and thinking, well, we're thereabouts now, and I'm still, if anything, in worse pain than I've been in all my life. So I'm looking and I'm thinking, is this just going to be it now? Is this my life now? And unfortunately, I think it is, but it is what it is, isn't it?
No, Dean, you got to keep fighting, man. Is there a plan then for another surgery, or
Not at the moment, but you never know.
is there a need one? Do you think? Is there a one of need? Do you think, or
I'm no expert, but from what I've been told and what I feel, and yeah, I think there is. But that's again, we'll have to see. Won't we? That's for another day.
yeah, of course, yeah. So with all of that, then that to sum that section up, I suppose, is that sums. I don't even know how to ask it. Is that why you're in so much pain then? Because of the lead up of all of those surgeries.
Yeah, and I mean, and I've even got something now. I've developed something called vasovagal syncope, which has totally just ruined everything in terms of my social life, any type of life really. Because if for anyone who doesn't know what vasovagal syncope is, basically it's when your body's in that much trauma and pain, it switches off. So I can be, we sat here talking now, hopefully it doesn't happen. And the
Oh
pain gets
God.
too high and I just collapse. And then it's like when I said earlier on at the start of the episode was that my wife had to do CPR on me 5 times. I've been took in the
Scary.
hospital. They've had to do it in there. They've took me into resource to brought me back and whatever else. So my body's just under that much trauma. I've been told.
Well, I was
Um,
nervous the other week. You weren't replying to me, so I'm messaging your missus.
yeah.
I'm
So where is
messaging
he?
Leanne going, and luckily we got the times wrong, and you're
Yeah.
still in bed.
Yeah, he's all right. He's laid next to me, but
Oh
um,
fuck! I was like,
this is
shit.
it. This is what people say, though. This is what happens. And I've had people where my mum and dad or whatever, they're due to come over, and they've been ringing me, and texting me. Then Leanne's had to get in touch with them and say, "Listen, we're on our way back to hospital now. He's collapsed again."
Oh my
And
god.
it's at one point I was collapsing 3 to 4 times a day. So as you can imagine, you can't really do anything.
No.
Now, luckily, it's drastically reduced, but it's still. I mean, I collapsed now about 2.5 weeks ago now. And the wife again had to do CPR on me, rushed into hospital, no breathing.
Are
Um,
you classed as? I mean, do you die in that scenario? Is it
I
classed
don't.
as?
So on some of them, it's really weird because on the last one, obviously I'm not aware and I'm not present and what's going on. But she says that on the last one, and the paramedics confirmed that I wasn't breathing. So then I was classed as a cardiac arrest case, and they come in on a level 1, I think it is.
Mm,
But then other times where I'm just out cold. There's no pulse. There's nothing. But you've got shallow breathing. So there's different. I don't know. I don't know how. Like I say, we don't know how it works. It's
yeah.
just it's horrendous. And I
So does
wake up
Leanne have to
not.
stay with you at home? Is she there now?
Yeah. So and luckily she works from home. And if she
Yeah.
doesn't work from home, then my mum's always here, or the mother-in-law, or whatever else. So,
Okay, good.
but it's awful because this was a thing, which is what was all getting too much. Was I was having putting this burden, I call it, on everybody else because, like you've just said there, well, does your wife have to stay at home? Does someone always have to be with you? Now, I used to be this really outgoing, guy who was just so me. I was me, I call it. And now I'm like, I'm not relying on everybody, but I feel like I am, and I feel like they always are. So, like you just said it there, you panicked when I didn't answer my calls or my messages, and imagine how it feels for the family. And if I go and watch football, like I used to love going to the football and whatever, I can't do it now because I panic that what if something happens in there and it's a medical emergency and the match gets stopped because of me? Like I'd hate that. Not just for me because it's an embarrassment for me, but everyone else in that ground. The match gets stopped for them. It's not fair. So I've sort of like reduced myself socially from doing a lot, and then so then you sort of become like a little bit inside. I don't want to do anything because what if I collapse? Or so a lot of the times when I go and do my events and whatnot, people don't see it. It takes me a long time to prepare to get to the ability to be able to get up, get on the train, get there, do the event, then come back, and then I'm like say I'm wiped out. So, but for me, it's again we said it earlier is it's better than it was in terms of 7 days a week in bed, laying there, not wanting to be here. If I can go and do something for a day or two, and it's a meeting, or if it's a brand or a model shoot or something like that, then that's fine because I'm better than I was. And
Yeah.
I have to keep that attitude and I have to keep that outlook because if I don't, then you just end up spiraling back to that point again where you're like, this is it, I'm back
Absolutely.
here.
Absolutely. So really, then, to because we touched on it at the beginning of the episode with the attempts on your life. I think the first one you mentioned was in
Last
2024, right? Or
last year, yes, yeah,
last year,
last December.
last December. Yeah, sorry, that's right. Yeah, sorry, because by the time this is out, it'll be a year and a bit longer. So I'm trying to
Yeah,
put it from that perspective, I suppose. Was it was in your mind then? It was all down to the amount of pain you were in.
yeah, definitely. And it's just no life, is it? I mean,
Yeah.
even now I'm sat here now and it's agony. It's like someone's literally stabbing me in the lower back and just pulling it down my legs. Um, and I know that I'll be back in bed now for 2 or 3 hours after this.
I know I don't want to
Because
drain you either.
and that's the life though. This is it. It's because and you've everything mentally is because of the physical things that have happened. And you know even now, like, it's great. I see people and they talk to me, and you said it earlier about, oh, you're looking very dapper and you're listening to this. But it's hard to look at myself in the way that I want to look at myself, because it's not me. I'm still not that person that I want to be, because although it might look great that I'm stood there on the red carpet, or I'm stood there doing this with my wife or whatever else, it is lovely. And don't get me wrong, I'm showing the world that, making these memories counts, and you have to be here for that. But it's still the pain that goes with it. So people see that, and then we did a big awards in, was it London? A couple of months ago in London, and everyone else is out till late on the night. But I'll go, I'll do my bit, and then I am wiped. I'm back at the hotel for 11 o'clock, looking like a cup of tea and a biscuit or something. And it's like, I should be out. I'm still only 38-year-old. I know I'm no spring chicken, but I should be able to spend, the night out and having a few drinks and enjoying it. Whereas I can't as much as I would want to. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes, like, I'll push through and I can do it. So, and I will fight, and I always say this, I'll carry on going. And sometimes I push myself too much, and that's where the family get annoyed, because they're like, pushing yourself to a point where you've gone past that level of pain, that any time it's like a ticking time bomb. At any point, it'll just go pop, and I'll just collapse.
Yeah.
But if I don't, Andy, this is what people don't understand, is if I don't put myself forward and I don't put myself out there, and I don't live the life that I want to live, then I'm going to end up back where
Yeah.
I was, and I'm not
Yeah.
going to get back there.
Yeah. It's the fine line, I suppose, isn't it, of meeting it somewhere, even not even in the middle, past the middle, because you want to go
Yeah,
past the middle, don't you?
yeah,
You actually want to get close as you possibly can to that full intention that you want, that dream, that goal, but
yeah.
you just know your limitations. It's like you want to get to that 70, 80 mark, not the 50.
Not 58.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know where I think. Well, I can't ever relate, but I think I know where your
And
mindset's at.
that's why I don't like, say, do the football, because I know deep down I love the borough. My Middlesbrough Football Club, I've followed them from a kid till now. I love them. They're
Somebody
like,
has to
oh,
support them.
yeah, someone has to, yeah. Although they're not the best for your health anyway. They're my team, and I love them.
That's
And
why you're doing it.
yeah, that's it. And I've supported them everywhere, they've been and whatnot. So that's why it's so hard over these last, however many years, when I can't support them as much as I want to. But it's frustrating, because I know that if I go to that match, so say tonight we play tonight, we've got a game on tonight. If I was to just go, I'm going, then I'll know that I won't make. I'll be in bed for a week, and I'll probably collapse 2 or 3 times. If I don't collapse at the event, I'll collapse outside the match, which then is just a horrendous scene. I did an event a few weeks ago. We went to see Sonny Fodera over in Manchester. Great. I love Sonny Fodera, and I geared up for it for so long. I was like, look, listen, I'm staying in bed for 2 weeks prior to it, just so I can get there. We went there with the missus. It was amazing, and then I collapsed. Ended up losing my breathing and everything. The blue lighted me over to the hospital in Manchester, who were amazing. But again, it was like, I push myself that little bit too much. But then it's, if I don't push myself, then I'm not going to enjoy these times and these
Yeah.
memories that I'm here for. And that's what's frustrating. But do you know what? I made it. So now I have to look and go, well, do you know what? For the sake of a match tonight, I'm not gonna. I've got some commitments coming up at the end of this week, that I need to be there for. So it's like, do you know what? I'll just sit in, watch the match in bed, and then prioritize, isn't it? But it is frustrating, but it's
I
what it
hope you
is.
can get there, man. I believe you will. I think with the right mindset and what you do on a daily basis and the purpose that you have, I think that'll all contribute towards being able to do that in very, very small incremental steps. I don't think you're stuck here for the rest of your life. I hope you do get back to that. So with going back to that day, then, the first attempt. Can I ask? Because I know the second one, but the first attempt, what were you trying to do there?
So at the time, I was, like, say, it was a year ago. So, and at
Mm.
the time, I was basically, the house was locked down, because the wife, the crisis team were involved, and everything was, put in place, that I had to be monitored and checked and whatever. And I remember thinking, this is just, I tried to come off a lot of the medications, because I was just sick of being a zombie,
Yeah.
and I just stopped them. So then I'd had about 3 or 4 nights with no sleep, and it was just, the thoughts and everything, and the pain accelerated, and it was just I was just not in a good place. And I remember thinking, I need this to stop, and I've got my wife sat next to me, 24/7, bless her. She's got no quality of life. You know, the kids are watching her dad's laying in bed. I was like, I'm not doing it. Like, and it was just enough was enough. And I remember saying to Leanne, just nip down. And she nipped down I think she'd gone down to make a drink or something, or get some food or something. And as she did, I remember leaning over, grabbing my pain medication bag with all my tablets in, and just snuck out the house. And I knew what I wanted to do, and I could have quite easily done what I was going to do. And I won't go into it too much because it could be triggering for people.
Sure. Yeah.
But I knew what I wanted to do, and as you can imagine, what I did do.
Just taking a very quick break to thank our sponsor, SU Skincare. If you haven't heard of them, SU Skincare started right here in Australia, using Australian ingredients to make skincare straightforward and accessible, especially for men who want results without the fuss. Their journey took them all the way to the US, where they were featured in Macy's and over 300 stores. Now they're back with a fresh approach, focusing on healthy skin and authenticity for everyone. I'm proud to have SU Skincare as a sponsor on Leading Our Own Way. See the show notes for their website and to see how you can keep your skin healthy and confident. And if you're interested in sponsoring like SU Skincare, drop us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Now, right back to the episode.
But I wanted to be out the way. I didn't want my wife or the kids or anything to find me. So I took myself up into a wooded area, got a lot of alcohol on the way, and then, obviously did what I did. And I was found by a couple walking the dog. And I don't remember much of it. As you can imagine, I took high levels of medications and a lot of alcohol. And it was a really, really bad time. But at that point, that was me. I was done. It was like, there's no going back. And I remember sitting there. I actually do remember sitting there and thinking, this world is a much better place without me. And everyone doesn't have to go through what I'm putting them through anymore. And then obviously I was found by I look back now and I think, I'm so grateful that they came along and found me. Took in hospital and the rest, as you can imagine.
So there was a few months in between your first attempt and your second attempt. Obviously, your mindset after the second attempt is completely different shift. What was the mindset like after the first one then? I mean, it probably seems fairly obvious because we know that you tried it again. But where was your mind in those next few weeks then?
So I'll be honest, and I always have, because if people really need to know how deep and raw it can be. Mm-hmm. So I remember being in the hospital and them saying to me, "Look, do you regret it, Dean?" Because it's one of the questions that they always ask. Do you regret doing what you've done? And I remember looking at the nurse and thinking, no. I said, but in one way I do. And she said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I did do it properly. That's my regret. Oh. And she was like, oh, hell. And I went, the thing is, though, like, I've been brought up right. My mum and dad have always brought me up to do things the best of my ability and do everything right. So in my eyes I was doing this. I wasn't doing it for a cry for help. I wasn't doing it for whatever else. I was doing it to end my life, and that was it. And there was no backup plan. There was no plan B. It was, I was going to make sure I did it right, and that was that. So then for it not to happen, I'll be honest with you, I was devastated because I still had to live this life, and that's how low it got. That's how, dark and lonely it was. Anyway, they had an agreement with my wife that they wanted to section me. And they were like, well, if we're going to section him, you're going to have to put this in place, because obviously, the environment's completely different. At home, I've got like a bed that helps me get up and supports me and whatever else. I said, so, and they wouldn't have had that in a secure unit. So my wife actually fought and was like, listen, just please, I'll support him at home if you can just keep him at home. We'll turn the house into, like I said earlier, Fort Knox, like a secure unit ourselves. Just don't put him in. So she literally fought my mum, all supported her, and were like, look, we'll just get him home. So to be honest, I just let them hear what they needed to hear. But I didn't want to be here. and so my mindset was I was really adamant and really focused on not being here. And that's why when I say about these little alarm bells ringing, is because it was just at that point was that that bell was ringing. And it was at it wasn't like this is a warning. This was literally all systems go. I was out to just not be here.
Yeah.
And even when the crisis team were coming, they were amazing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've heard some terrible, terrible stories in terms of crisis teams, but mine were brilliant. They were at my door within 3 hours of the first referral, and they were with me every day, as long as I needed them for. They're great,
Oh,
and the nurse who I've got even now because they stay with you. The nurse, she's amazing, and she's really got me through. She got me, but she actually said to me after, she said that we had like an MDT meeting, and she said that they came together and thought we will lose Dean at some point. It's just when. So it was like, oh, wow, to hear that, like now, even now, for them to when I hear that now, that's how poorly I was because you don't actually realize how poorly you are when you're in that moment, but
no.
when you come out of it, and that's the dangerous thing is what you're capable of, and for a professional to say that as well
Yeah.
was quite scary.
Absolutely, like I really resonate with quite a lot with what you said. I look when I compare, you shouldn't compare, and I know you said don't a bit earlier. And one of my guests said there's no ranking on trauma. Every journey is valid for sure. And I didn't go to the length. I did have the suicidal thoughts, and I'm going to actually announce something on episode 100. You're actually episode 99, and this is where the alignment with somebody I spoke to today. I've there's only I wore that mask. You're clearly not wearing a mask here at this point. You've made it very clear you don't want to be here at that time. I don't mean right now. I mean at that
Yeah,
time. But I was wearing a mask. Anyone who went to work with me wouldn't have known anything was wrong. I was the pleasant Andy White that I always have been. Maybe certain things were amiss. Maybe I don't know. But again, just what you said there, you feel so alone. And I used to do the same thing as you. The shower on, and I'd cry, and I didn't know why I was crying either. So, I'm going to announce something on episode 100. But I mean, I could say it to you now because by the time it will come out, it'll probably be there anyway. But I did go down to the beach, and I was meant to meet a friend for he was supposed to come around, and he ended up cancelling, and he was coming around to be with me, but he didn't know the depth, but he cancelled. I think if he'd known where I was at, he probably wouldn't have cancelled, but he did. He cancelled for whatever reason was going in his life, and I ended up going down to the beach where I am now, and I just remember sitting there. Not that I was going to do anything that night, but I remember crying my eyes off in the car, and that's where the suicidal thoughts had come from. Anyway, but years before that, in the other midst of some trauma that I'd gone through, there was only one person that came to support me, and we didn't know him, was an external. In fact, we brought him to the house, and I spoke to him today, and it's weird how it aligns with you and our episode today as well, and how it falls onto your anniversary. It's just all these signs are just insane, so it has to happen. But he's coming on part of my 100 episode next week when it'll be published. I'm answering 20 questions that people have put forward, and I'm going to bring a guy called Luke Bailey on the show, and I hope I continue to do that because we've just agreed upon it today, and I hope we stick with this plan. But he's going to come on because he's the one that came to my house and went and actually helped me. It was actually quite spiritual and to do with the spirits and stuff, and I'm not usually like that, but he came round and really, really helped me, and he saw me in my darkness. So he's going to talk about in next week's episode the darkness that he saw me because nobody else did.
is it? Oh, that's really
Nobody,
good.
no,
Yeah,
yeah.
that would be a good episode. That.
I think so. I think it'd be really cool because I only just thought about that like yesterday as an idea because
Yeah.
he commented on something on my podcast on the Facebook. I was like, got to get Luke in because he's the only guy that actually saw me in one of my darkest moments and
And that's it,
opened
though,
up.
isn't it? Because you live in your life. So this is what loads of people have come up to me and asked us, wanted us to do a TED talk and stuff like that between
Yeah,
me and my wife,
you
because
should do.
I can sit here and do and open up to you guys and whatever else and all my talks and whatever else. But she has a different side to it as well. She sees, so I'm living this dark, or what you've just said there is the dark and lonely life, but someone else gets to see it from a different angle,
Mm,
and he's seen that from his angle, that would be truly powerful. And it's the same
yeah,
as Leanne. Leanne will tell you if you got Leanne on here now and spoke to Leanne, there's certain things that although the facts are there, she knows what's happened, but her thoughts and feelings and how I looked and how I presented and whatever else would be completely different. Because although I did do what you did, and you talk about masking it and stuff, I did put a mask on because I'd have to. I felt like I had to, and that's
Yeah.
why I ended up going into the bathroom and crying and whatever
Yeah.
else. But I'd still have to come out and be this dad. Although I couldn't physically hide that because I was there. It was just a shell, and I was just dying away.
Mm.
Um, you still have to mentally put that mask on and think, look, I'm okay. And I'll be honest, nobody knew apart from Leanne when I first told her, and she came down at one point as well, and I ended up screaming out in pain. I won't say the words I said, and ended up kicking the dog bed. He wasn't in it, by the way. Kicking the dog bed and screaming out, and then I was like, I don't want to be, and I just broke down in the middle of the floor
Yeah.
on one of the occasions, and she was like, "What's wrong?" And I went, "I just don't want to be here anymore."
Yeah.
So that was my thing. She's seen that, and she's seen them dark days, and she even says to this point now, like, I can see when your mood's dropping or when the pain's too high because I can see it from from an outside,
Yeah.
point of view.
Yeah.
So that'll be a really good episode that with him. Hopefully he does it.
Yeah, he said he would. Yeah, absolutely. No, so with you, I mean, I think yeah, look, you definitely would have lived for mask for many years, no doubt, facing that pain every single day. But when you're articulating, I've not done it, I've not done the job well enough. That's clearly, you know what, I don't need this fucking mask anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't do it properly. I regret not doing it properly. I still don't want to be here. Was that so? The next, what was that? 3 months, because it was March last year, wasn't it? March 25. The window jumping backwards out the window scenario. That was a matter of what, 10 weeks, give or take. 10 weeks. Is that mindset? I'm guessing the mindset stayed there for the entire 10 weeks. But my next question, I suppose, is leading up to that window. Was it a spur of the moment thing like it was for the other one, or was it planned and going, I'm doing it this particular day?
I think it was just that just the pain had got so high throughout the
Yeah.
day, and it does anyway. But this day just felt like that was there. But the thing is, every day, like I was saying, I was actively seeking to not be here.
Yeah.
So, and I would look, and it sounds silly, but every time someone came in the door, obviously they locked the door with the keys, and then they took the keys away, and it was all locked away. I'd even hear like the little like I'd hear the door go, and it was ringing loud in my ears. If someone had opened the window or closed the window and locked it, I could hear the keys, the chimes of the keys, and it was getting to the point where it was like they haven't locked that door.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on, that door's still open. Oh, I wonder if I can get out. And it was like it was crazy. The thoughts when we were talking about how powerful your mind is, it was so crazy because I look back now and I think, God, how was I even thinking that? Like, how was I
I
even
know.
looking out? And so when it got to that night, it was just a build up of everything. And it was like literally like, here's my chance. And I'd seen that the window was a little bit ajar, you see. And at that time we had 2 weeks where it was absolutely boiling in March, which is totally unheard of in England. And
Yeah.
so we had to leave the windows open. And at this point I was trying to pretend I was okay, to be honest. Not many people know that.
So the
But
mask came back on.
yeah, and it was like, I'm okay. Look, I'm not feeling like this. I'm not thinking like that. And then I remember seeing the window slightly ajar, not open, but just slightly ajar. And I remember thinking, this is my time, because there was nothing else I could do in the house. There was literally everything was out the way, and then I was just existing in this bed.
Yeah.
So that was that.
Look, you articulated that evening at the beginning of the episode, so we won't need to. You don't have to go through that again. But there was after I know we said at the beginning as well about your mum saying you're here for a reason. There was another, and I think this is for me quite and I know this was the same for you, but there was another turning point for you, wasn't there? And maybe we're aligned in what we're thinking here.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, so talk to us about that turning point, because for me, I've never heard anyone go through this before or even being asked this question
yeah.
before.
Yeah, no problem. So when I'd come out of the hospital, I was obviously in the hospital, did the recovery and stuff, and then I had to come out. And I remember getting back into bed, and my wife lay next to me and saying, how are you feeling?" And I said, I'm okay. I said, I'm going to fight. I'm going to make a point. But I'm going to come off my medications correctly. I'm going to make sure that I do everything properly. and I want to be here, and I want to prove to you that, I know it's not going to be easy, but I will show you that, I'm present and I'm here. So she was like, right, okay. So a few days later, she said that she'd noticed that I was picking up in my mood and whatever else. And she said to me, she said, how are you feeling in terms of the incident and whatnot? And I said, no, I'm okay. I said, I'm just gutted. I'm upset that I've put you guys through it and whatnot. And I said, but I'm telling you, I'm going to get Unbeaten off the ground. I'm going to make sure that I've saved as many people as I can. So on sudden she was like, right, okay. She went, do you want me to show you something? And I was like, oh, here we go. And so unbeknown to me, we've got CCTV up around the house. So unbeknown to me is the paramedics had asked Leanne if they've got the footage of me falling out the window or jumping out the window as such. So she said, I'll have a look. So she'd gone back in, gone on the iPad and brought it up. And they needed to see it in terms of injuries and how I landed and whatever else. So I didn't notice. And anyway, I'm laying in bed and Leanne says, I've got the footage saved on my iPad. Do you want to see it? And I was like, oh, God, as you can imagine, I'm thinking, watch, what? I don't know. So
Had she seen
anyway,
it?
she had to see it. Yeah, she'd watched it. And I didn't realise. And obviously, I was in hospital and she must have watched it with the paramedics originally. And she said it was just horrendous. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, I laid in bed and I said, look, took me a while. Stomach was turning, as you can imagine. I was sweating and thinking, do I want to see this? Because it's one thing seeing it on a movie, but seeing yourself, it was surreal. So anyway, I said, let's do it. I thought, well, it needs to be done in terms of recovery and a trauma stage to get over. Let's do it. So she passed me the iPad, and I remember looking down at it and just watching this footage of me jump out the window, and it was just surreal. It was horrendous, and there's no words for it, as you can imagine. And I looked and watched like my body, I won't go into too much detail, but just land on the floor and just look dead, and I remember looking and thinking, that was me. Have I done that?
Yeah.
And it took me back, and I just burst out crying. Leanne burst out crying, and I just looked at her and I said, but you know what? This stops now. This, I promise you, that is going to be the last thing I put you guys through. And I'm going to fight and make this Unbeaten work and make sure that nobody else gets to the point that I got to. Nobody else gets to that level of, darkness, loneliness, and basically despair, really, of just, it's horrendous. Because when you can see it for yourself, I can't. I mean, I can't imagine her watching it. If it was me, I couldn't imagine watching my wife jump out of a window like that. It would just break my heart and shatter it into pieces. So it's hard enough to see yourself. So then I was like, she's strong enough to go through this, and she's strong enough to stick by me and go through everything that we're going through. Then I'm gonna put it back. And that was like a massive changing point for me in terms of Unbeaten, because it gave me that fire in my belly. It gave me that like light to go, do you know what? I ain't letting anyone else get to this point. I'm just not, because I never thought that person there who I've just watched jump out the window would ever do that. And I need to make sure that no one else does.
Does that charge your discipline and motivation in terms of what you're building in the community?
Yeah.
Does that vision stay in your mind to help you drive
Definitely.
forward? Do you think
It's a big thing, because it's scary, because again, and I keep saying it because I never thought it would happen to me. And there'll be many people out there that will think exactly the same, and you'll find out months later that they're no longer here, and you're like, like, we could save them. I know we can't save everybody, and I know, we're never going to eradicate it. We know that, we're not daft. But there's people along the way that we can save, and I used to say this: if I can just save one person, it's amazing. But I don't want to just save one person. I want to save as many people as I can.
I've said the same thing.
Yeah, and that's it.
When you can help more, because that's how it starts off, though, isn't it? Yeah, I just want to help one person, because you've not helped one person, right?
Yeah.
So, and then when you do, and you know how powerful your journey is, the things that you're building is, you go, oh, I'm not helping just one here, I'm helping 10. And I mean, I remember Luke saying it on about Andy's Man Club. You know, it grew from 1 to 10, and now it's 50, and now it's 500 clubs around the country, and then it's 10,000, and you know, you're helping how many people in each of those? You know, all of a sudden you help 10, 20,000 people every Monday night. That's fucking insane. That's amazing. And you're doing the exact same thing, and it does go from, I don't actually want to help one person anymore. I want to help thousands, then it'll be tens of thousands, then it'll be millions, you know, before you know it. But if you're doing it at the pace that you have done, mate, we filmed on the 29th of December. You did that window attempt 9 months ago. Look at you in 9 months, man, of what you've not even, people wouldn't have even started the journey you're on until I think after the track, down the track from where we're currently at now. Look at what's already been built in 9 months, mate. That is insane. I love it. That's how you're leading your own way.
And that's all I want to do. I just want to show the world that, you know, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Sounds corny, but there is, and we will, you know, you will get through it. And if you are struggling, then, you know, just know that you're not alone.
Absolutely. So I feel like we've done the full loop. If there's anything that, before I go into some of the questions I do have, is there anything that you think we've missed off that is still worth sharing?
How long have we been going now? It's some time for you, that.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm not worried about the time. It's about how powerful it is to, you know, to help people take pieces from you and to put it into their life, and you know, even just explaining the impacts not only on yourself. We have to think about it from the other perspective, don't we? You know, your family, your beautiful wife, and your kids, and stuff like that, and where your mind was at. Even, you know, it's just an incredible journey. So for you then, future plans. You're doing incredible things with Unbeaten. You're public speaking. Is there a TEDx in the plan? Is there a talk there somewhere?
I'm hoping so. Yeah, we're speaking about it. So it's the other side to it is whether I do one on my own or whether I do a split one. But I think it's still really raw for Leanne at the moment, and
Right.
she's a little bit like, could I do it? Could I go on and do this? She's an amazing talker. She's, you know, she runs businesses and whatever else. So it's not that side of it. It's the emotional side, whether
Yeah.
she can do it. But in terms of a TED talk, even if it's just for myself, then yeah, I definitely want to get involved. So hopefully,
Yeah.
we can get that planned in the next year or so.
Beautiful. And future plans with Unbeaten, then where do you plan on taking it?
Yeah, do you know what? I think for me, it isn't. It's I've never had it as a direct plan of going. Do you know what I want to do? This, and this. I just want to keep going and doing what we're doing. Keep saving as many lives as we can. Keep showing the world that, you know what, life is precious. And, you know, carry on doing what I'm doing in terms of my talks around the world. You know, I'm working with an ambassador for the amazing Tough to Talk, Steve Whittle, who is just an incredible guy. Again, he's had his struggles and founded Tough to Talk, so he's definitely worth a guest appearance for you, because he's just a crazy guy. And when he approached me to be ambassador for them, I was like honoured, and let's do it, because they're doing some amazing work. Again, breaking the stigma around mental health and suicide and the education side around it. So getting involved with companies, training, just literally getting my word out there, getting my story out there, and getting my support and everything out there as much as I can, just to make people realise and relate to what I'm doing, that this can happen to anybody, and it will. And unfortunately, we've just got to all be there to support them, because, and I say this all the time, it's strength in numbers, and
Yeah,
we come together, and we won't be beaten.
Absolutely. Love it. Well, if you could give somebody, our viewers, a piece of powerful advice who might be related to, you know, connect with some of the topics that we've covered through your own personal journey, because, like you say, it is everywhere, and half of it we don't even know or are aware of. People are listening might have somebody in their life that are going through something and they're just not aware. What piece of advice could you give to those two? One, to look out for, or just a powerful piece of advice that anyone can connect to our episode today?
Just to keep going and just keep fighting. But then if it is you who's going through it and it is you who's struggling, then just reach out and get some support, whether it's your doctors, whether it's the helplines, or whether it's even someone like myself who you just need to speak to, because you know, it's so powerful opening up and showing your emotions and letting people know that you're not okay. And for me, that's the most powerful thing you can do. People think it's a weakness, but it's not. It's a strength.
Absolutely. It really, really is. And I think also finding somebody who's got lived experience certainly helps, because I just find that is a really powerful. We can see therapists and psychologists, they all have a part, absolutely. But somebody with lived experience never shuts it off and walks away a minute too early, do they? That's the key thing there. Look, your purpose is very, very crystal clear, but I always ask the guest to put it into one powerful line. So, Dean, what is your purpose?
Again, just to save as many lives as I can and make people realise that there is a life worth living.
Love it. What a way to end, Dean. I love it, mate. It's such an honour to have you on the show. I hope it was everything that you hoped it for today.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed it. So I'll back up to bed now for a few hours, get some medication in there.
I feel guilty, man. Oh my God.
No, don't. It's been lovely. Do you know what though? Again, this is what I said to you earlier. This is so powerful for me, because this has been amazing, and if I can get the point over that I'm getting the point over for, it doesn't matter if it puts me in bed for a day or two. It is what it is.
Well, mate, and out of all of this, I love that we've become mates as well. I really love it. When I come home, I know you probably won't fly this far, but when I come home, I want to come and see you. I know you probably go to Manchester more than me, so we'll definitely, whether it's in Middlesbrough or Liverpool, because we've got a mutual connection with my former guest Gillian Ashcroft as well. So
yes, we'll all meet up.
It would be nice to everybody to get together, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be good. It'd be really good, wouldn't it?
Good old Kath sent me some Galaxy.
Did she?
She did. She sent me some. Oh, I love her. I can't wait to meet her as well.
Yeah, she's a great lady. She's lovely.
Well, Dean, thank you. Get some rest.
Yep. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's been such an honour. Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate you. And I'm be going to bed very soon because it's late at night here. But thank you so much. And look, everybody, please contact Dean. Look at his Unbeaten. I'll put everything in the show notes for you to reach out if you need him. And also the products and the beautiful things with Unbeaten. I absolutely love it. We'll put all the links in there. Social media, website, whatever. Go and take a look. But from Dean and myself, thanks for joining us, and I hope you can all take something away from today. I know I have, if it's not anybody else. But anyway, everybody, keep leading your own way. Have a great week. Have a great weekend, and come back next week for, if I'm doing this right, this is episode 99. It's me next week. 100th episode is coming. Nearly 2 years of leading our own way, and I can't wait to share it. Keep leading your own way, everyone. Have a great week. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Well, we're here at the end of Dean Daniels' journey. What a great story. What a great journey Dean has been on. It's incredible. And he still lives with it every single day. But, it's from that rooftop edge to becoming a beacon of hope. It reminds us that no matter how dark the moment, there's always a path forward. At Leading Our Own Way here, we believe in the power of sharing real stories and journeys like Dean's to break the silence around mental health and inspire true resilience. Dean's work with Unbeaten and his willingness to be vulnerable shows that every one of us can reclaim our story and use our pain as a catalyst for purpose. His courage is a call to action. Check in on those around you. Open up about your own struggles even, and help build communities where no one feels alone, Anyway, this podcast is now in the top 10% worldwide, with around 47 countries. Sorry, it's got to be more than 47 listeners. But most of you haven't hit that follow button. So if you have, then please click that follow, especially if Dean's story moved you. And if you believe in the mission of leading our own way, please take a moment right now to hit it and give us a review. That simple action helps us reach even more people who need to hear these conversations. Let's keep building a movement where everyone's voice matters. Every journey is honoured, and together we'll lead our own way, one story at a time. Share this episode, reach out to someone who might need support. Remember, hope is contagious, and you're never alone on this road. Have a great week, have a great weekend, keep leading your own way. We'll see you next week for another amazing guest. Ooh, we've got a special one. We're up to episode 100, and I got something for you guys. See you then. Thanks for listening and watching Leading Our Own Way. So we can stay together forever and share more incredible journeys, please subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss next week's episode and what that amazing guest has to offer to the world. Please support Leading Our Own Way, and we'll get you on next week's episode.